Hi, I'm Dr. Richard Visser, and in this podcast, I will take you on a journey through the wilderness of scientific research and experiential knowledge. Together, we will clear a path to optimizing health, well-being, and longevity. I am a former Minister of Health and Sports with a PhD in medical sciences, a published researcher in the fields of obesity, lifestyle medicine, and longevity. I started my career path over 3 decades ago as a doctor of chiropractic. I'm excited to share my methods, know-how, and experience with you. So please join me on the Visser Podcast. Welcome to the Visser Podcast. This is episode 13, and it's how do we make it happen? We've spoken up to now about the foundation work, and the foundation work includes chapters 1 through 12, where we start with the gut biome, we go through that, we go into nutrition, we go into exercise, hot and cold, hyperbarics, we talk about stress, depression, and end up with, happiness factor. How do we do the social thing from the blue zones? And we get to episode 13. Episode 13 is really, okay, I want to incorporate some of this, all of this, one of these. How do I do it? Because this is super important. The data is against you. The stats are against you. And we're going to go through why. So it's the hardest thing for most of us, creating new habits or undoing, destructing old ones, deconstructing old ones, or destructive ones, better said, not old ones, just destructive ones. In all our waking time, 70% of that time is done with habits. So it's a big part of our life. It's a big part of our waking life. Habits are rudimentary. They're set in us way deep in the basal ganglia. And the reason for this is so that our brain doesn't have to overthink repetitive stuff. So it can go on autopilot and its capacity can be used for other stuff that you really need at that time. So habits can become something very powerful, but also very destructive. And we've all seen that with addiction, with you name it. And just in our lives with stuff we do, the desserts we eat, the things we get used to doing, the routines we get used to that we're unable to break, smoking, drinking, you name it. When we look at New Year's resolutions, we see research done on it. From all the people that start a New Year's resolution, at the end of that year, 9% survive. At 6 months, we still have 60% of you. So that's the good news. But at 1 year, 9%. So then you say, well, of course, I knew it. New Year's resolutions and resolutions don't work. No, they do. They are set up to give you a bigger opportunity and bigger potential of succeeding. So we're going to have to deep dive into it. Not everything is as it seems. Statistics are like a bikini. I come from an island, so I've grown up with bikinis. Okay? And with bikinis, it is very interesting what you see, but vital what you don't see. So we're going to have to deep dive. So, what I want you to start with, we're gonna go on how we make this successful. How do I get you guys in the 9 percentile? And how do I make that 9 percentile bigger and forever? So another piece of research that we looked at is, and it's done multiple times, is that it takes a human being about 18 times to 254 times of repetition for something to become a habit. Trust me, you're more towards the 250 side. Okay? The 18 side is very few and very in between. Okay, so just count on that's how long it's going to take you. All right, for it to become a habit. So first set up for that. You need to know. Listen, you need to know what you're facing. If you don't know what you're facing, you're bound to lose. So let's know our enemy. And let's know how the brain works. And let's see what happens to the brain and how we can help the process. In both instances, in getting rid of bad habits and bringing in new habits, good habits, healthy habits, whatever it may be. Habits to make you successful, habits to make you wealthy, habits to give you better health, habits to, to create, a fuller life, enjoyment, social. We talked about that. And habits, so we sleep better. I mean, sleep is one of the major keys. We talked about that in, I think it was episode 9. Sleep, massive, huge. And we're not getting it. We're failing. So sleep is one that we need to grab right away and make sure that's good, because if that's off, the rest is muddled, mud. So let's look at that. So I think to start with, you want to say, okay, I want to do these. I want to do these foundations. I want to incorporate this in my life. First thing you got to do is take time out. Really create a mental picture. See yourself there, fit, vital, healthy at 70, 80, 90. See it. Be there. Be that person. Okay? Completely immerse yourself in that thought, idea, vision. Make it as specific as you can. The more specific you make it, the better. Because the better the mind kind of grasps it. Okay, this becomes your carrot. This becomes and I want you to go through the list, man. Why do you want to have that health at that age? Being able to spend time with the grandkids. Being active. Not being a parasite to your family. Put it bluntly. I mean, really, independent living. Being able to do all the activities that you like and love. Being able to socialize, travel. Make that happen. Picture that. Because that's what we're working for, right? We're working towards a better end. We're working towards, saving up money or having enough resources or whatever to truly enjoy life. So picture that. Start picturing that and start connecting the foundation work with that thought. Make it one. Make it one. Okay? Then I want you to get into the state of being. Once you've visualized it, you've gotten real specific. Now you can get into the state of being that 80-year-old, 70-year-old that is happy, that is fulfilled, that is like living the life to the tits. And start writing down what you feel. Start writing down those feelings. How you feel. How excited are you? How are these, let yourself release these endorphins while you're thinking of this, because that will happen. It's like we talked about before. When you're the happiest, before a trip, during a trip, or at the end or after the trip, the vacation. It's before. That's when you get the releases. That's when you're thinking. So that's what I want you to do. Get these juices flowing. Get the endorphins released. Get your mind set with this. Okay? So once you're there, these are going to be your carrots. These are the new cues for you to make it happen. To see the importance. I mean, we really need to be, we need to make it vital. And we'll talk about this, how to hierarchy set these goals in our brain and the way we think. So when we look at tools to create changes in our brain, we start looking at, I'm going to go through 3, and then I'm going to go through 3 different ones that could hamper us and could help us also. But these are 3 critical ones that are really the biology. How does that work? Okay? So we have two systems. We have a procedural memory system, which is what we'll talk about now, and we also have episodic memory, and that's kind of remembering stuff. But the procedural memory is key in developing these new habits. This is how we rank this habit, how we do it step by step, the specific steps that are required to do this new habit. So I want you to start thinking every time you're going to do it. Every time you start, okay, it's time, I gotta go, do my zone 2 cardio, which I don't like. Start thinking about the steps that you have to take to get there, to get on doing the zone 2 cardio. Take these steps every time. And then look at the steps you're doing while you're doing it. And then, of course, bring it back to the feeling that you feel 20, 30 years from now. So we really have to look at the steps, visualize these steps with everything we do. So visualize the steps. Don't just do it, visualize, you go on, and then do it. The second tool is called task bracketing. And these are the neural circuits of the basal ganglia that are either action suppression or activation. Making this new habit as essential no matter what orients your nervous system. Okay, so it needs to be as essential as brushing your teeth. And what do I mean by that? Or in the morning. Or having a cup of coffee in the morning. It's not the best example, but a lot of you can relate. I hope all of you brush your teeth, but maybe some of you don't. So it's like, no matter how bad your day is, no matter what you got going on, even if you partied the night before, you drank, you're waking up with a hangover, you're going to go brush your teeth before you go out of the house. Hopefully. Or at least have a cup of coffee. Stick to the coffee. I know you're going to have a cup of coffee. So that's called really bracketing. Okay, so you put it in a priority. And so these new habits need to be bracketed heavily in those priorities. So really, again, you need to, the new habit, you need to get yourself ready, kind of like a warm-up. Think of the events that precede it and follow that help create that heavy bracketing. This neural imprint will become a reflex. And the reflex is this new habit. And that's where you need it to do. That's the level we need to bring it to. So it needs to become so again, task bracketing. It happens in the basal ganglia. It is key. So we really have to look at the process. We need to put this weight on it. We really need to consciously think about it. Think about putting it right after brushing your teeth. So no matter what happens, this is one you're going to do. Even if you're feeling bad, even if whatever happens, you're doing it. That's the level it needs to take. That's the importance it needs to be in your life. It cannot be just, one of those things you do and then, today was a bad day, or today was a heavy day, or I'm not feeling that positive today, I'm kind of tired. No, it's brushing your teeth. So this is where we need to bring this. The third tool. Identify the stage leading up to a bad behavior. So, I'll go into this. Bad behaviors don't disappear. We're able to replace them. Now listen, we're able to replace them with good behavior. And we need to focus on replacing them with good behavior. But they don't disappear. All we need is a cue, a trigger, and they're back. This is the big problem with addiction. So remember that for all our bad habits. But this is how you pivot on a bad habit. Now this is critical. The way you pivot on a bad habit is once you realize you're moving towards a bad habit again. So let's say I need to do my, and I'll do zone 2 cardio because I freaking hate it. It's so boring. Jesus, I'm doing it. Yeah. So anyway, I got to do my zone 2. And I'm looking at the clock and I, did my lifting. I'm ready to go. I'm kind of feeling tired and maybe I have a little soreness and whatever excuse I can come up. I'm late. And I start thinking of walking out of the gym or thinking of let's just get a coffee. As soon as I do that, because that's to me a bad habit, or whatever other bad habit, I realize I'm slipping into this bad habit. What I need to do at any point when I realize this, is do a pivot into something rewarding that I really like doing, not the zone 2 cardio, it's something else, right? That's positive, that's good for me. And do that. Just for a little bit. Maybe it's, I don't know, looking at art or playing music or something that I really like, that's positive, that's for me fulfilling and it's healthy. Do it. Pivot there. Because what you're doing is you're kind of reshaping those circuits. You're resetting the circuit that goes into that bad habit. Don't fight the bad habit. Replace it. And the reason we talk about this is the next big thing, and that is, well, what about willpower, right? And before we go to willpower, I want to come back to the pivot. And one of the things I neglected to mention is you don't want to let the dopamine feed the bad habits anymore. Okay, because with every bad habit, with every habit that we do, there's a dopamine release. There's this, that's our carrot. Okay, so you stop feeding the bad habit and you pivot into a good habit, that's something else, and you feed that. You have the dopamine go there, not to the bad habit. Okay, so as soon as you realize, I'm going to bad habit, pivot. And do something fun. Don't pivot into something worse. Don't pivot. No, pivot into something that's going to give you even more dopamine that you really like doing, just for a little while, so that it pulls you out of that. It pulls you out of that cycle of your bad habit. You do that often enough, and it becomes easy. Okay. So, what about willpower? Because we're all talking about willpower. This is the one thing. This person wasn't able to hold a diet, didn't have enough willpower. Now, in diet, I brought up diet, but in diet, in the chapter on diet, I talk about this. I talk about there are things we should do with our diet that are for our health. I'm not talking about losing weight or anything like that. Intermittent fasting is one of them. You got to do it. Why? It's cell repair. It's good at every level for your being. All right? It's that, you're creating this artificial starvation, this artificial struggle in your body. Your body becomes stronger. Your immune system becomes stronger. Your digestive system improves. The way you handle, glycogen, glucose in your blood improves, etc., etc. Okay? So the one thing I talked about in there is when we pick a diet, and I wasn't specific about diets, it needs to be a good diet, general good diet, that you're getting your macros, you're getting your nutrients, you're staying away from sugars, you're staying away from, the simple carbs, you're etc., etc. Okay? And then there's a huge plethora of different, diets that you can pick from, or ways of eating, I like to call them. And my key there was pick the one restrictive diet, because they're all restrictive, that's the least restrictive for you. Because in research we've seen, doesn't matter what diet you have, as long as you can hold it, it'll be beneficial. So pick the one that's least restrictive to you, and that's personal, and do it for life. That's it. That's the key. So this kind of brings us into willpower. because we're all thinking we need willpower to do this. We need willpower. Well, the research shows, and there's quite a bit of research on this, and I'll link it in the description below, that the willpower, you're not going to make it. Believe it or not. It's not, I don't care how much willpower you have. Willpower, really, they've seen, is like a muscle. It gets tired. So they put these groups in a room, and they put cookies in one group, or stuff to really get their dopamine going, and they're telling them, okay, you can't touch it, right? And you'll get rewarded later. So it's they're doing this study, and the other group can eat whatever they want. And with this group that has to look at this whatever they love to consume, it's in front of them and they can't touch it. And then after a while of this, and the other group can do whatever they want, eat whatever they want, they have to do tasks. Well, guess what happened? The guys with the willpower, the guys with the highest willpower, the guys that were able to crunch through it, couldn't perform their tasks. Weren't able to go past a couple of minutes and just get frustrated, and it was a task they had to do that had no solution. So it's a frustrating task, a puzzle. And they just, while the other group that was able to do whatever, didn't have to use willpower, went to the task happier, went to the task and were able to spend much more time on the task in a positive way. So this whole thing about willpower, man, we cannot rely on it for long term. We can't rely on willpower. So get it out. All right? We're going to have to be smarter than willpower. Willpower is a brute muscle that we cannot use for long term. And it kills everything else. All right? So, okay, so, what do we do? Well, we know the repetition. Okay? Think of yourself a 250 guy, or a 250 girl, or a 250 whatever. That's how many repetitions you're going to have to do. That's how many days you're going to have to do for this habit to anchor in. And you're going to have to do it right. You're going to have to play with yourself. You're going to have to be able to, think about it. You're going to have to visualize it. You're going to have to look at the steps it takes. You're going to have to prioritize it. All these things we've talked about. And then, in the shadows, there's something else lurking. Stress. Stress is the master. Stress will basically get you to just drop it. Stress will make you run to your bad habits like a bat out of hell. Stress will make you go to get the bottle. Stress will make you get the cigarettes. We know this in our lives. Stress will make you eat crap. Stress will increase your craving to have donuts and go get ice cream and just blow up your diet. This is stress. So we're not equipped as humans to deal with these big rushes of dopamine. And I mean big rushes that are here artificially. Cigarettes, sugar, refined carbs, highly processed foods. We are not equipped to deal with that magnitude of rush. So those are really dangerous. And stress, man, it'll get you there quick. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to identify stress. We have to make ourselves less susceptible to stress. And we have a whole episode on stress where we talk about cold submersion. We talk about a bunch of things that you can do, that you can train yourself to be able to take way more stress than you are able to take now without it affecting your health. And there's good stresses and there's bad stresses. And we can use this stress in our favor. We can actually use this stress to get healthier. So really look at that chapter, go through it, because that is key here. Stress is a master. The other thing is delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is the key to success, and you need to train this, man. Not most of, they do it with kids, and they have these things with kids where they, these, you've heard of these studies where they put one cookie and they say, okay, if you can wait 15 minutes, not eat it, you get a second cookie when the person comes in. And most kids stuff their face, and there's a couple of them that are able to hold out and delay the gratification. Those are the most successful people in life, period. And there's a study, and the girl has followed these kids for 40 years and shown that those kids that were able to do that were the most successful. So we have to train that delayed gratification. And delayed gratification means, listen, I go train today, I'm going to do all this effort today, and I'm not going to see the freaking results today or tomorrow. Right? I'm going to get on that scale obsessively, and I'm not going to see it drop or whatever. But in time, I will. So we have to be able to delay that gratification. We have to be able to get happy. We have to be able to have endorphin releases with the idea of something great is coming. That's why we're doing the visualization. That's why we're doing the steps. That's why we're reminding ourselves completely. And we're doing it to create neuroplasticity, and we're activating our brains and to create new pathways to say, listen, it's coming. I'm looking forward to this me every day. Doesn't have to be here now, but I'm looking forward to it. And that's enough dopamine to get me going. And that is one of the keys to success in these programs. That'll get you to the 9%, together with the other stuff we talked about. And then thirdly, really, we talked about this, focus on the foundation. Focus on the foundation, people. Focus on the foundation. And that means exercise, eat healthy, get sleep, get really good sleep, right? Monitor your sleep if you can, but get sleep, get your hours in. We have a whole episode on sleep, how to improve your sleep. It is key because we are being bombarded with stuff. Our telephone, our computers, the lighting that we use, everything in our house, everything in this modern time that really is there to sabotage your sleep. So we really have to focus on getting good sleep. And sleep is key. This is where we regenerate, we recharge, we become whole again. All right? So that's a key. We need to look at the cues from our environments, because this is what triggers our bad habits, the cues. We know you switch an environment and you get a different result. Okay? So get rid of cookies, get rid of Coke, get rid of all this stuff in your fridge, in your house. Replace it with fruits, vegetables, stuff you can eat, fiber. Replace it with some fermented foods, so that you're changing the environment. You need to change that environment, because the cues in your environment will absolutely drive you back to that, to using, to getting that cigarette, getting that drink, to get rid of those cues. Replace them. Don't just get rid of them, because then you're creating a feeling of like starvation where you need it. You need to actually just really replace it with something nice that you like, that also is going to give you an endorphin check. And I think lastly, you need to ask yourself the right question. And it's due to our cognitive dissonance. If someone else does this, or if we do it verbally, we will put all our excuses there. If you do the right question, it needs to be a yes and no answer. And it can be on a computer, or it can be written down. Are you going to work out? Yes. Why? It can't have excuses. It needs to be yes or no. You need to just every time clarify. So you need to ask yourself the right questions about these new habits that you want to incorporate. And the answers have to be clear. And you have to know why you're saying yes or why you're saying no. Again and again. And it's again going through that list. So even if you don't want to do it, even if, this guy's talking to you and saying, let's go do something else, let's go, play hooky, whatever, ask the right question. And by answering it, yes or no, no stories, you're more likely to go and do the right thing. So this episode 13, the purpose, to get you in the 9% and to get you with the new habits and managing the old habits, which, remember, don't leave you. They're there. You just gotta keep them down. You can't feed them. You can't let them see the light. Keep them down there. But it's not gonna take willpower. It's gonna take smarts. It's gonna take pivoting. It's gonna take, as soon as they come up, get something better, something that gives you more satisfaction, that's good for you, to replace them. Don't do it with willpower. It's not gonna work. Willpower isn't strong enough. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Subscribe, hit the bell notification. We got great stuff coming up. And this kind of finishes the foundation work, but we're gonna keep coming back to it. We're gonna go deeper into Zone 2 training. We'll go deeper into nutrition. We'll go deeper into exercise. We'll go deeper into, strength training. We'll go deeper into aging. We'll keep coming back. But the foundation, listen, without the foundation, don't go do the peripheral stuff. Don't go do the exotic stuff, because it's for nothing. Don't go like, we're doing this super special new thing that they just, no. Get your foundation right. Then you can play around. If you don't have your foundation right, don't talk to me. All right? See you next time. And let's continue this journey of health, well-being, and longevity. Yeah, baby.